Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you the process of taking your files from your Bullis account and saving them so you can use them later. Now there's two options here. Option one I'm going to go through is the simplest option, and that's a transfer. And that will transfer all of your Google Drive files and all of your Gmails, if you want, over to a personal Google account that you already have. The second option that I'll get into is actually exporting the data. And when I say export, it will just be like a zip file that you'll need to back up maybe on an external hard drive, somewhere else that you can reference. It won't be backed up in the cloud. It won't just be accessible by going to google.com or your Gmail. So there are two options. You might want to use a mix and match of the two. The simpler option is the first one that I will explain. All right, so let's get into this. I want to go through the process of transferring your Google Drive content from your Bullis account to a personal account. So first step, make sure that you have a personal Google account. If you don't have that already, go ahead and create that as step one. Then the second step is make sure that you're signed in with your Bullis Google account. And when you're signed in with your Bullis Google account, go to takeout.google.com/transfer. At that point, it tells you, step one, enter a destination account. So that's going to be your personal email account. And then you have to send a code. That code will be emailed to you. Go ahead and enter it in and then press verify. At this point, you get to choose what you want to transfer. And note that it's going to copy and transfer. So you're not going to lose things in your Bullis account. It's going to copy and transfer. What it's going to do is in your Google Drive, it will copy files that are in My Drive and files that you own. So anything that's simply in your shared with me is not going to copy over. Okay, so just make sure that you know that things need to be in either My Drive or things that you were the owner of. And then it will copy over all of your email. If you don't want any of these things, you can turn it off. Like if you don't want your email and you just want your Google Drive files, then you can just toggle one on. Notice that people that you shared files with will still have access to the originals. So that's what you want. And then you would press start transfer. I don't want to transfer all of my files. I have too much, but that's all that you would do. Here are just a couple more notes about the process. Now, the other thing that I want to show, if you have other information that you want to back up and not just transfer over to a personal Google account, then you can do that also. You do that by, instead of going to takeout.google.com/transfer, you just go to takeout.google.com. And then you'll have a lot more options. And what this is going to do is it's going to export it as a zip file that you keep. So that's not going to upload it to the cloud, to another Google Drive. It would just be something that you would save on your computer, maybe back up on an external hard drive to be able to use as you need. Let me show you how this one works. You can just check what information you want to carry over and export. So for this purpose, I'm going to deselect all because I only want to select certain things. I'm going to scroll down to my Google Drive. So you can check, and if you check it by default, then every single Google Drive file that you've created is going to carry over. If you only want to select certain folders, you can just click on this button that says all drive data included. By default, it's going to include everything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect all. And I made this sample folder. So I'm gonna go ahead and press OK, because that's all I wanna carry over. So that's only gonna do that. Keep in mind that when I copy over my Google Drive files, I need to have had those files in my Google Drive itself. So files that were simply shared with me, like in my shared with me tab in Google Drive, won't carry over. So they have to be in your drive in order to carry them over. And then I'm gonna scroll down because the other thing that I want, if you had photos, maybe you want to carry those over. I also want to carry over some of my emails. So I'm going to go down here to mail. And the same thing, I have, let me unselect everything, created another sample folder here. So I'm going to uncheck everything except for my sample folder. Clearly I have a lot of folders. All right, so there we go. And now I'm going to press OK. So only one label is selected, which is like a folder. And I just have my mail and my Google Docs. And that's all that I want for this demonstration. If you were using YouTube, you might want to select YouTube also. Okay, so let's go ahead and press next step. And then you can just say that you want to export it once, because we're going to just do one bulk export. And then I'm going to leave the default option, which is send download link via email. Again, I'm going to keep all the defaults here. I'm not changing anything. And then I'm going to create export. And so then it tells me that Google's creating a copy of files. It can take quite a while if you're doing a lot of things, and they will email me when the export is done. You will immediately get an email from Google that says that an archive of your Google data has been requested, just to make sure that was you. You don't need to do anything when you get that email. Now that I've waited a while, I got the email that my Google data is ready to download. So at this point, just make sure that you download your files. Then you'll have to sign back in, and that's it. So it will download as a zip file. If I open that up, it's going to look like this. So I'll have my Google Drive. This is my sample folder that I wanted to export. And I only had one sample document in there. And so you can see that it just exported it as a document that I can open in Word. So that's that. Now for your mail, since these aren't just files, this is actually going to be a .mbox file. So you can't just like click on it to open like I showed you with the Google Drive. So I'm on a Mac, so that's the only real thing that I know how to do on a Mac. If you open up the default mail app on your Mac and then import mailboxes, then you can import data files in Mbox format. So that would allow you to then choose what you had downloaded, and you can pull it into your Apple Mail. In terms of what I would recommend, if you want to carry over your Gmail, I really think that the easiest thing to do is use the first option that I showed with the transfer and just carry over all of your Gmail files. If you have a bunch of stuff on your Google Drive and some of it you want to kind of back up on an external hard drive or whatever that may be, then you could use the Google Takeout option, which would export it as a zip file. But otherwise, the transferring your content to your personal Gmail is probably the easiest way to go. Anyway, I hope this was a helpful overview. Again, once you export this stuff, it can take a while for it to export, like even up to a week if you have a ton of content. So just be patient on getting that email back that your content has been transferred, either by using the transfer or the Google Takeout and giving you a zip file. Both options will work, just depending on what you want and how much customization you need over what you export. All right, that's all. Bye.